you might be surprised to find out just how many IRA accounts you have. Hi, I'm financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. So you might be thinking, hey Sean, I'm aware I've got 3 different IRA accounts, 3 different financial institutions, 3 different logins, 3 different account numbers. I have 3 different IRAs. Well, guess what? Congress and the IRS think differently. There is a rule in the Internal Revenue Code, I'm going to link to it in the description below, that says when you test distributions from IRAs and all the Pro-Rata Rule and all that good stuff, you have one and only one IRA. And that's true if you have one IRA, 2 IRAs, or 10 IRAs. Think about that for a second. So folks get hung up because they say, oh, well, I have an old 401k that I rolled into a traditional IRA, so that's one of my IRAs. And then separately, I made non-deductible contributions to this second IRA over here with this different financial institution. So under the Pro-Rata Rule, I don't have to worry about the first IRA because that's an old workplace plan. Doesn't work that way. Congress has a rule that says, guess what? In the Internal Revenue Code, all your IRAs are smushed together and you have one and only one IRA. Okay, well, how does that work? Well, that means when you do that pro-rata rule, if you take $6,000 maybe and you convert it to a Roth and you say, well, that was from my non-deductible IRA contribution, so doesn't all the basis that I created attach there? Not under that pro-rata rule. What that means is you have to allocate some of that basis to that second IRA because these things are all aggregated, all smushed together. And what it generally means is for those who have an old workplace 401k that they've rolled to a traditional IRA, something like the backdoor Roth IRA is probably not a good idea for them. All right, well, what about Roth IRAs? Hey Sean, I got 3 different logins for 3 different Roth IRAs. How does that work? Same rule applies. According to Congress in the Internal Revenue Code, you have one and only one Roth IRA. Now, this actually turns out to generally be beneficial. But what it means is when we're thinking about non-qualified withdrawals from Roth IRAs, I'll link to my previous video on that topic. When we're thinking about that, we add up all the Roth contributions and Roth conversions we've made in the past, and we apply it to all our Roth IRAs as if they're one. That's actually, generally speaking, a taxpayer favorable rule. So both for traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs, guess what? You have one and only one of each. You have one traditional IRA, one Roth IRA, no matter if you have 10 of each. According to Congress, it's one and only one. Now, there are 2 main exceptions to this rule. The first one isn't so much of an exception as just a different category. Workplace retirement plans, things like 401ks, 403bs, 457s. Guess what? Those things are not smushed together, right? So if you left employer A to join employer B and you start contributing to employer B's 401k, but you left behind at employer A their 401k, the rules say, no, those are 2 separate 401ks. There's nothing that aggregates or smushes those together. Same with Roth 401ks, right? Each qualified plan, which is a fancy term for a 401k, each qualified plan is its own separate account. There are other qualified plans other than 401ks being the big one. But anyway, so each qualified plan is its own separate account, and you do the accounting and the tax rules based on their, each separate plan. And then the second main exception to this rule are inherited retirement accounts. So if you inherited one IRA from your aunt, and then separately you inherited a second IRA or Roth IRA from your uncle, those are always separate, right? And they're separate not only from each other, from other inherited accounts, they're also separate from your own retirement accounts. So with the pro-rata rule, it doesn't factor in any inherited retirement accounts. So in theory, you could have inherited an IRA from your aunt, and she may have had basis in that, right? That can happen. And when you inherit that basis attaches only to the IRA that you inherited from your aunt. It doesn't attach to your own IRAs, and it doesn't attach to any IRAs you may have inherited from your uncle or from your dad or from your cousin, right? So these rules get a little complicated, but that's a big exception. That means it's actually possible to file multiple 8606s with one tax return beyond a husband and wife or spouses scenario. You could have it where you make a distribution or conversion from your own traditional IRA, and then maybe you had to take a distribution from an inherited IRA and had to file a second 8606 for that. So just remember the big picture here. When you're thinking about distributions from traditional IRAs and thinking about distributions from Roth IRAs, you have one and only one of each, no matter how many literal accounts you may actually have. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please mash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time.